The BBC paid £1,200 to a people smuggler. Presumably, that is taxpayers' money. The Beeb decided to copy GB News by going undercover to snare some human traffickers who were helping people break into Britain across the Channel. Now, they did get some decent content that showed not only how brazenly Iraqi Kurdish gangsters operate in the migrant camps in northern France, but also that they have connections here in Britain, specifically in Birmingham.
So in about 10 minutes' time, we hope we're going to have a rendezvous to hand over the money to one of the smugglers or a member of the smugglers' network here in the UK, inside Birmingham Station here.
I have the money with me, £900, right?
The man takes the cash and leaves.
Well, you'll notice them handing money over to one of them at a train station in Birmingham there. They also did the same in a migrant camp in France.
But when our smuggler appears, he seems relaxed, on his own turf. He asks for a final payment, a total of €1,400 for the crossing.
One BBC reporter could obviously smell a controversy here, so he said this.
So that's it. He's taken the money and left the station. Now, you may well be asking why we would pay money to criminals. Well, we believe it is the only way that we can gain access to the gang and expose its network, not least its network here in the UK.
Well, he said it's the only way to access the gang. Complete rubbish. You might remember that a few weeks ago I was able to do this. Mala, my name is Patrick Christie's. I do a show on GB News, and you are a human trafficker. We've got your face, we've got your details, we've got everything that we need to report you to the police. So the French police are going to have all of this information. Just come on, talk to me. Why not talk to me? Look, the game's up. It's finished. Just talk to me. Come on. Why do you help people break into Britain? Come on, Mala. You know, talk to me. We know who you are. Come on. You might as well. Where are you from? And I was also able to do a bit of this. And you are a human trafficker, aren't you?
Are there?
Yes. Why are you bringing people illegally to Britain?
Go.
Why are you bringing people illegally to Britain? Why are you illegally bringing people into Britain? Do you feel any kind of conscience about that at all? Do you feel bad about that at all? Or not? No? You don't? No? I think we can catch up with him, probably. Hello, come back. We were able to provide their phone numbers, records of conversation, the amount of money they quoted us, so proof that they were indeed in the human trafficking game, some of their faces and some of their voices to both British and French authorities without giving those vile criminals a single penny, let alone what I imagine was taxpayers' money. The BBC has form for this kind of stuff. In March, they were accused of paying taxpayers' money to the family of a Hamas official for a Gaza documentary. Now, the BBC has adapted Sir Keir Starmer's motto from smash the gangs to give cash to the gangs. Twice I've been to northern France to report on the Channel migrant crisis, once to infiltrate 3 separate human trafficking gangs. Neither time did I give a single penny to anyone. The Beeb did not need to do that. But before we go to my panel on this, I want to give you a very quick update from our very own GB News Home and Security Editor, Mr. Mark White. Mark, thank you very much. Right, you have been monitoring the situation in the Channel today. We're going to talk about this a bit more at 10 p.m. when we pick apart this deal, but it would appear that, that this one-in, one-out deal hasn't been much of a deterrent so far.
No, we certainly got some small boat migrants coming across today, although I have to say I'm a bit surprised because only 155, I say only 155, that's still a number, but compared to the days when we've seen 800, 900, even 1,000 or more come across, given that it was flat calm out in the English Channel for only 2 migrant boats to cross, well, maybe they are getting the message. Maybe this is a deterrent, Patrick. Josh, you know, I don't think they even are factoring in what Sir Keir Starmer and Emmanuel Macron have hatched up here, because the fact of the matter is that in terms of the risk of being sent back to France if you cross illegally in a small boat, is so negligible that the people smugglers won't even consider that, I wouldn't imagine, as any kind of impediment to the business model at this stage. And if it becomes more than that, then they'll tell those potential customers of theirs that, look, you know, there is very little chance that at the end of the day you'll be considered for relocation back to France. And even if you do, you've got lots of human rights lawyers and NGOs and other activists that will step in on your behalf and advocate for you and will pick apart this treaty and be able to put it before the courts to ensure that the chances of you ever being returned to France or any other country for that matter are very limited.
Many women and children today, Mark, or was it just the lads?
Didn't see a single one, Patrick.
Lovely stuff. OK, well, that's brilliant. Well, Mark, thank you very, very much. And well done yet again for bringing us the unfiltered truth there, however uncomfortable it might be for people in Number 10. GB News' Home and Security Editor, Mark White. Thank you. Right, let's get the thoughts of my panel. Businessman and activist Adam Brooks joins us. We've also got Director of Popular Conservatives, Mark Littlewood, and journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Right, OK, Mark, so did the BBC really have to give 1,200 quid's worth of taxpayers' money to some human trafficking gangs, do you think, or should they maybe have not done that?
Yeah, I'm pretty flabbergasted. I must admit I'm no expert on this, but I'm surprised that that's legal, actually. I wasn't aware that journalists could go around giving money to known criminals, but who knows? No, they didn't have to do it. You compared and contrasted with your own investigative journalism. I mean, I will say this for them, right? If it's not often that I leap to the defence of the BBC. I want Border Force doing this.
Yes.
I mean, you know, journalists, yourself, I guess the BBC, despite the use of this money, are trying to expose the truth. But we need our security forces to be involved in doing this. And that probably does involve the transfer of money in the same way that police officers sometimes give money to get tips from snitches and grasses and the rest of it. So why is this being left to Patrick Christie's and the BBC to protect our borders? I haven't heard anything from Border Force about how they're infiltrating these people. Seems quite easy. I mean, I wouldn't want to understate the extent to which you and other journalists put yourself
That was
at
one of
risk.
the points I was trying to prove, actually, really, is how easy it is.
So I would have thought we could be arresting dozens and dozens of people a day if they were just willing to do what you and the BBC were willing to do.
Exactly. And again, look, I do want to say, by the way, I've watched that BBC thing. It is very good, right? They get some really good footage, and ultimately, you know, it's all very well and good sitting here and knocking other news outlets like we do quite often when they don't deliver the goods. I think it was the quibble really is over.
It's the money.
It's the fact that they've decided to, it seems, ship a load of taxpayers' cash to a vile Kurdish human trafficking gang.
Look, this isn't hard from the Home Office or the authorities. They could listen to mine and your conversation from a satellite miles above our head, wherever we are. You telling me they cannot smash these gangs? They need the boats, they need the engines, they need the life jackets. They're easily traceable things to go back and see who's paying who. It's easy to do. It beggars belief. Do they want to do this or not? The likes of yourself going there has proven how easy it is. I'm pretty angry that my taxpayers' money or my licence fee money has been given to criminals over there, especially when those people then come over here and cost me even more. But again, going back to the people smugglers, Habib Basodi, who was a taxi driver from Kent, he was found guilty of facilitating illegal immigration as part of a gang. He was given a 20-month suspended sentence.
Nice.
So you tell me the deterrent on people smuggling. If I'm over here and think, right, I'll only get a suspended sentence, I'll probably be doing it.
It's good, that, isn't it? Because when you think about that, to take it to its logical conclusion, so that guy who has been found guilty of bringing people illegally into Britain has served the same amount of time in prison as me, which is not at all. Nothing, not a day there. So remarkable, really, when you think about that.
No deterrent.
Do you think people have a right to think, you know, the BBC there, by the way, one thing I will say is apparently they spent a year doing that, right? And
yeah, they start in March 24.
I can't help but wonder, when you see that come out, how annoyed they must have been when they saw this, like, fat northern bloke rock up in Calais and just do 2 days there. But anyway, so should they have been giving taxpayers money to the Iraqi Kurds?
Well, there are expenses that have to be paid sometimes. You just have to bite the bullet, and they recognise the fact that this is not a normal thing, and they wouldn't normally want to do this. But but to get deeper into the whole thing, and to be fair to them, Patrick, your reports were brilliant, and I don't know why you haven't been snapped up by BBC, ITV, and Sky.
Well, because I want to be here.
Well, exactly. but have you had the offers?
No.
But you should be getting the offers.
We're the #1 news channel. Remember that.
But you should be getting the offers. But so. They have gone for a longer, more undercover, in-depth, to be fair. They've gone since March 2024. And at some point, because money is involved, money's the key to all this, money has to change hands. And there are other...
You're pulling a face, Mark.
Is that right?
But Panorama, if you look at...
If I want to do an undercover documentary about the drugs trade, am I able to go around buying heroin and cocaine on street corners?
They have had to do things. BBC investigations in the past. If you look at what Panorama used to do, and sad it's gone because it was a fantastic series that ran.
You can't break the law, can you?
But no, it's not a question of breaking. Well, that's
my question. If Panorama or something like that wanted to do an undercover documentary about the drugs trade, are they allowed to use licence fee payers' money to buy heroin and cocaine?
Well,
I wouldn't have thought so.
They might have. The fact of the matter is they planned a longer term, more in depth thing than you had the time for, and to be fair, and there's
with just a remarkably similar results. But
there's a border force being there. Right. You cannot imagine English police are going to be allowed to operate on French soil.
They do in Marbella and Spain.
Handily, one of the things that the BBC documentary show, which we all knew, but they have, to their credit, highlighted it, is actually you have to operate on French soil because half of these lads are in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Which is
just to counter that point, in southern Spain, a lot of our police do operate in Spain to try and get English gangsters that are on the Costa del Sol. So that can happen. But look, giving 1,200 quid to a people smuggler, ones that carry guns, we know they've got guns, they could buy more guns with that. Are you comfortable with that? I'm not.
Yeah, if there's a way of getting in further into that investigation, they might not have uncovered the Birmingham connection without that. There are things that have to be done.
But that's really the job for Border Force, not for the British Broadcasting Corporation.
Yes, but are the Border Force going to do that?
One thing I will say is, if our authorities were looking into these gangs and doing an operation, have the BBC just messed it up?
No,
you don't know.
In what way?
Because if our authorities maybe are looking into them and suddenly the BBC rock up, or even you, really, right, and they're in a deep operation, that could mess it up.
The thing is, I think one of the things that stood out for me, and I will just say this in all of this, is how willing... This is just my impression. How willing our authorities appear to be to let these operations run and run and run and run. And it does beg the question for me is, how long are you prepared to do that for, whilst there is this torrent of people coming across the channel? At what point do you metaphorically pull the trigger and go, we've got enough now? We've got enough now.
And then what?
And let's just go and lift
That's
them.
all very well.
But,
and everybody.
Well, they're in Birmingham, Nina. They're in Birmingham. They're all over the place. I mean, there's a bloke I spoke to who's in London.
How come the BBC let them go then?
Well, because they don't have powers of arrest.
Well, exactly. So there are practical details that have to be considered.
All right. Well, there we go. Well, look, the BBC said handing money over to criminals is not something we do lightly. I don't know. Paid you Edwards for quite a while. Handing money over for criminals is not something we do lightly.
Just frequently.
But in this instance, we decided there was a public interest in doing so, as it was the only way we could further expose the gang and its wider network. Look, OK, hats off. There was some good footage there. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think you needed to pay them. But anyway, there we go.